We can see and hear you. That's wonderful. Well, welcome everyone to this very late mid-year. So sorry about this. This is our first live stream. I've used StreamYard for about 5 years, and for some reason they did not like this headset. Um, Up until I started, they were fine with it backstage, but when I started, they said they did not recognize my camera or my headset, and I had to reboot again and again. So here we are, but we're here. I want to thank everyone for being here. Perhaps it didn't like the little audio intro I did. It might have screwed it up. Might just stick to YouTube Live exclusively. I want to thank everyone for coming today. The readers of my book, some of you are here. Some of you are here from the Facebook group, the Tub Pond Handbook. My old colleagues from the Northeast Fish Tub and Water Garden group that meets on Facebook. If you're in the Northeast and do tubbing, that's our group. So this is very much what we used to do at the Northeast Council of Aquarium Society conventions from 2015 to 2019. We would meet in April at the convention, about 50 plus summer tubbers in a speaker room, and people would come up and give tips, the fish they're keeping, how they're planting. It was a nice sharing type of event, and we give a list of fish that we're all keeping. With COVID, that ended. It hasn't come back, um, but we still do meet on Facebook. So welcome you if you're there. Members of the North Jersey Aquarium Society and the Skylands Aquarium Society, my two clubs. And last but not least, the Fish Fam community who have been extremely patient. I expect extra trash talk from you. Many of you might not know what Fish Fam is. So as you know, there's a lot of aquarium and other hobby related things on YouTube. But this is a community of people who have YouTube accounts just like you, but it's sort of a social event. Some of them mostly live streams, some of them live stream, and with the live chat, they get to interact with each other. It's a great way to make friends, and it's a online way to make friends from all around the country, indeed all around the world. I'm spoiled here in New Jersey. I figured out this morning that I am within 90 minutes of 6 aquarium clubs. I mean, that's really spoiled. Most people on Fish Fam don't have a club near them. Most hobbies in the country don't have a club that close by. So an online community like Fish Fam really offers hobbyists to get to know each other, right? Um, so if you're interested, if someone could paste the Fish Fam link in the chat, it probably will show up every now and then. Um, and you could explore that option as well. What I'd like to do today is a mid-year checkup. Um, Questions, of course, but also your successes and your failures and any tips that you might have. So we're going to try to get started here and um, and look at some questions here. I'm going to ask you to post your questions or some of your observations, some of your tips in the chat here. We're going to go through some of these questions mid-season. Many people are dealing with some different things, and I'm going to just start reviewing these right now here. Someone says, I blame Scotty. All right, we have to explain that. Remember, it's not just Fish Fan people. Scotty Schmidt is the moderator and the chairman of the Keystone Clash, where a lot of people online meet and hobbyists from all around the country meet. It's become a real national event, and I encourage you to come to the Keystone Clash. Look up Keystone Clash on your search engine and learn all about it. It's a great weekend, even if you can just come for like one day. So let's see here. Hello, everyone coming in. So many people I want to say hello to, but you know how I feel about you. And the trash talk hasn't really started yet because that's really one of the key aspects of what we do. I see that Jody P is here from Iowa. So see, Jody, it must be like almost 1:30 p.m. and in Iowa, farm girl Jody, which means Jody has her pajamas on now because she's got to go to bed in about 3 hours. So Jody, thanks for snuggling up with us here. Um, Jeff Pelham is also on the line, I believe. Jeff just woke up. Jeff is having breakfast as he's watching this, by the way. So thank you, Jeff. Um, let's get to some questions here. Evening all. Someone said evening. You must be from another part of the world. You like my blue shirt. Thank you. And here's all the tech support people coming in commenting, doing the Monday morning quarterback. I do appreciate it, but no, everything was fine until we started the stream, and then they did not like my devices. So let's see here. Any questions from anyone here? Y- Ted, you need to mod someone. Well, I could mod someone. I could make someone a mod. I guess I could do that. Um, but would love to have some questions. I will show you one thing here. I saw this in Chattanooga Ed stream. I'll wait for some questions to show up here in the stream, or unless you'll hear me blabber on forever. People were talking about dragonfly larvae, and I know um, a few people there had said that they had dragonfly larvae, and eh, my experience has been that of Ed. So there's different species of dragonfly and mayfly. Most of them become large predatory larvae in their second year. The ones that I have in my tub, the species I have, hatch out in 1 year. They stay relatively small. I've pulled out dozens of egg scattering fry out of a tub that had dozens and dozens of dragonfly larvae. They usually prefer at that tiny size mosquitoes, and Daphnia and other things like that. What I like to do mid-season with my tubs, and you can do this once a month actually, is a mid-season sweep. You would take your pond net. I like to use the Laguna pond net. It's a hand pond net that Laguna makes. It's about this big. It has a aluminum handle. I've showed it on a few of the streams. If we have a break, I might go grab it. And you pull plants and you do a sweep. The good thing about that Laguna hand net, it's a hand net. It's not the telescopic pole. It's about 15 bucks. Is that it has a very low drag, so you can and because the holes are rather small, and you can go through your tub quickly, and you can pull out tadpoles, dragonfly larvae. Sometimes doing that once a month, if you're a fish breeder and this is a concern for you, is extremely helpful. But if you can only do it one time, find when your dragonflies start to come around. It's usually around now. And I do like a mid-season sweep. I'll sweep out stuff. It's also a way for me to check to see if I have fry or not. If I don't have any fry, I might swap out that species and try a different species. If you are concerned though, and you still want to remove them, maybe you have flying water beetle larvae. They turn into water tigers, which are nasty little things. You can use a chitin inhibitor. So the traditional chitin inhibitor was a pesticide called dimilin, which was banned and then brought back, sort of. But what I discovered many years ago was this product by Microblift. Microblift is a big, both a pond company, but they make a lot of the bacteria that it's used in the sewage industry, household, you'll see in your hardware store, and a whole bunch of aquarium stuff, aquarium bacterias. It's pretty decent. They're pond bacteria I like because it has phototrophic bacterial strains. It smells like hell because they put a sulfur compound in it. But one of the other products they make is this microglyph lysin anchorworm treatment. This is a chitin inhibitor. So I said, well, let me see if it works on dragonfly larvae and mosquito larvae. It did. Um, it might not get rid of all of them, but it will lower your population. It'll lower your population of mosquitoes too. Someone asked me at the club, does it affect Daphnia? I have not found it to eliminate my Daphnia, or seed shrimp. There's different species. There's Diclostrata, and a bunch of other families of freshwater plankton that we lump in and call Daphnia. Um, it doesn't seem to really harm their exoskeleton. What a chitin inhibitor does is it basically softens the exoskeleton so the animal cannot create a new one. And if it can't create a new one, it's going to die because your insect larvae are continually regenerating a larger and larger exoskeleton until they're large enough to fly out of the water. So that's what this does. It's 1 teaspoon per 50 gallons. So you don't need a big bottle like I did because you're probably not as insane as me and has 30 tubs ranging from 30 to 200 gallons. So you get a small bottle of this at your local pond store. I like to get my pond supplies. You can use Amazon, but if you have to go online, Webb's Water Garden is kind of the go-to place. In the off season, you can get a lot of stuff on sale or at clearance, fertilizers, and a whole host of things. Webb's Water Garden online. You should sign up to their customer system because first time customers, you should get 10% off. You can find that. And then you get points on top of that with every purchase. I don't know how they make money, but they have a very good store. So that's my issue. So that's some of my thoughts about that, about insect larvae. Let's take a look at some of the questions out. Ted, how do you look so cool? Yeah, that happened. That's long and oh, Dee Dee. Dee Dee's here. Dee Dee needs a warning label on her body. Let's see what we got here on the chat. That blue button and smash subscribe. Yes, I do have videos on the channel. The one that's the most popular is the brine shrimp tub. I'm on my deck now where I have about 9 tubs. But down below, if you go to Jeff Pelham's live stream earlier this week, I went on with him and Ron for about a half hour and showed and dipped into the brine shrimp tub and a few other tubs if you'd like to get a look of what's going on down there. That's getting a lot of hits. It was an idea from an old killifish hobbyist. It's the easiest way to do live foods outside. Let's see what else are some of the questions we have here. Fish clubs around the world, fish events. Hey now. Zen says, I haven't tubbed in 2 years and I only had plants before. And I have no real shade that a pond can go in. Is there any way to keep ponds in full sun in Texas? Not really, unless you love algae. Well, I will tell you, if you're down in Texas and Jeff Pelham's live stream, I demonstrated this too. I would get a 100-gallon stock tank, right? Or a 70-gallon Rubbermaid stock tank or Tough Stuff at Tractor Supply. Even in high temperatures, a tub that's on the ground will have a thermocline. Like this tub right here, if I put my hand in, right? Even a shallow 15-inch tub like this, yet the other day, these were in the 90s. The warm layer of water will be on top. There'll be cooler water at the bottom, significantly cooler even in a shallow tub. Well, that's going to be on overdrive in a stock tank then. And if you half bury it in the ground, which I don't like, but I think for a stock tank, half buried, it's still above the ground enough for you to smell the water lilies, observe the fish. Again, that's why we keep tub ponds and not regular ponds, because we want to get up close and see the animals and see our fry, not go on our bellies and do it. But a stock tank, if it's half buried, that's also going to cool it considerably. That thermocline, you would be surprised at what that does. So what I would do then is I would just get a cheap probe thermometer on Amazon. They're like $5. Most of them are accurate, but you can buy two and measure it against an accurate thermometer and put that probe in the first surface and lower the probe down to the bottom. And remember, we're keeping tropical fish. These fish are used to high temps. So if you have high temps, many of our fishes will be absolutely fine. In a situation like that, maybe I won't do goldfish, of course, right? Any of the anabantids, the paradise fish, they don't care about oxygen levels in the water when things get hot. They have a labyrinth organ, the lungs on the side of the head. They're going to go to the top of the surface, and they're going to breathe atmospheric air. So I've kept rice fish too. I don't know how they survive at 100 degrees, but they do. Paradise fish, Stephen just has some spawns now. He's in an extremely hot climate, Stephen P., where when he takes a drink of tap water and he wants some tea in the morning, a hot cup of tea, he just takes it right out of his tap. He doesn't have to boil that. But I would try that, Zed. Now, the other thing they do, my friends in Florida, my friends in Hawaii, a lot of live bearer people there, they will put outdoor fish tanks outside. Now, you can imagine how they heat up. They use shade cloth. They will have a shade cloth structure over their tanks. and their fish do fine. A tub is going to be a little more insulated, will not heat up as rapidly, and hold in some of the cool night air. So I would try those things. So let's see some other questions we have here. Thank God Jody told me it's Bougie is here. Well, that's nice. Thank you. And again, everyone, apologize for the mishaps today. Um, they did not like my devices. If you Zen, Steven said, "Hey Zen, if you put the tub against the house, you will get some shading." Yeah, Steven brings up a good point about shading. If you're in a part of Texas where you have no trees, nothing to shade, a roof line can shade too. So, and to Steven's point, if you put your house not on southern exposure, but maybe at the northern exposure or the eastern exposure, or even western exposure, it's not going to get the full midday sun. And that's the one that really heats up the tub is the midday sun, right? Um, these tubs here that I'm here on my deck, these tubs get a break from the midday sun, which means do my water lilies bloom as well? No. But are they cooler? Yes. Can I keep certain plants that actually don't like it really warm? For example, over here, can I pull this out? Yeah, I'll pull this one out. This is an Acarus, a Japanese sweet flag, and this likes it a little shady. This in full sun it gets burnt. So there are some benefits to having a little shade. So I think to Stephen's point, yeah, that's an excellent way to cool things off too. Let's see what else we got here. See who else has some questions or concerns. Zen, I would still try it. What can you lose? Buy some cheap PetSmart or Petco fish and give it a whirl. Yes, you will have evaporation. Sweet Acre says, yes, you will have evaporation. I have evaporation too. And if you're in a dry climate, evaporation is going to be a bigger issue for you. But you can lower evaporation, as you see with this tub over here. If you have a nice coating of water lilies, that will help. You may have to top off more, but that's one of the benefits if you're in a really hot, dry climate of having a stock tank, because they're much taller. They're more at like waist level rather than these, which are at like knee level. A higher volume of water. The evaporation is going to be slower and it's not going to matter as much. You won't have to refill as much. But I will tell you, I've had tubs at these tubs here, these Home Depot patio ponds, they've gone half shallow and the fish are fine. The resilience of tropical fish, this is the environment they've been brought up in. They live in sometimes in shallow waters. They're used to fluctuating temperatures. I think the problem is, and this is the philosophy, is that we're used to being Mother Nature, right? We're used to setting up a fish room or an aquarium and being in control of everything, a laboratory controlled environment. We control the heat, the light, when they're fed, the water conditions, and worse, we make it a stable heat 24/7, a stable temperature, stable pH, feeding is regimented, the lights suddenly go on and suddenly go off. Your fish have not evolved to that. Your fish adapt to your fish tank. This is what they've evolved to behave in. This is what your plants have evolved to behave in, not your aquarium. Why do we have to inject CO2 in our tanks to make our submerged growth look that way? Because they don't want to look that way. They want to grow immersed. So don't have some faith in your fish. Have some faith in your fish. If it's your first time out, I will give you the advice. Go to PetSmart or Petco and get some rosy barbs. They're easy to sex, especially the long fin ones. That was the first fish I tried when an old fish guy, Al Brown, told me that. They look great outside. They're active on the surface. They shimmer in the sunlight. And unlike in the aquarium, they give birth to their fry and the fry live with their parents and you can see them grow, right? Or try some cheap Danios. White clouds you can try. They tend to stop breeding for me when the temperatures are really high, just like the CPDs do. Rainbow fish. You want to buy some cheap rainbows, put in a couple of pairs, put a lot of plant growth. You'll notice I use water hyacinth here. This is your spawning mop. There you go. There's your spawning mop. But I put my water hyacinth around the sides, which helps to keep the fish from jumping, and that's where they drive the females. So let's see what else we have here. Giant Danios in a pond, yes. Danios do get jumpy, but yeah, they do look good. I think better than giant Danios, Dee Dee, and these are cheap too. You can get these. These are always available at PetSmart and Petco. Is the Buenos Aires Tetra. Um, they are great outside. They stay at the surface. If you haven't set up a tub yet, I know I've always, if you read my book, I tell you to set up the tub early, let the tub get seasoned, let all the bacteria and other plankton form. But if you don't have time, you get some Buenos Aires tetras. You can put them in the crappiest little tub you want with a mop or water hyacinth. They'll spawn that morning without any conditioning. They'll eat anything. They can go down to near freezing. I've had them on this deck in the mid 90s, and they're always active at the surface, and they don't jump that much, right? And they're cheap, right? So you're not really investing a lot. If you can move a mop back and forth to another tank, you'll definitely have a spawn. It's guaranteed. Let's see. How do you lift your pond baskets in your ponds? Anything to avoid? Well, you mean my baskets that have my plants like these? I mean, they're not that heavy because remember, we're not using big baskets like this. We're using small baskets like this. So this is stargrass. Let me show you stargrass because the bracts are opening. This is one of my favorite plants. And the flower stalks have come up and the bracts are opening. Later on in August, more will come and they'll spill over the side with the weight of the bracts. And you can see this is a 5-inch perforated pond pot filled with pea gravel. Now, you can plant it in soil if you like. Um, but I plant mine in pea gravel because I don't want my little tubs to smell too much. And because I'm breeding fish and I really don't want to deal with algae, I want them to feed from the water column. But so I'll use pea gravel with a clay center, like either some kitty litter that's really wet and compressed, or safety zorb, which many people are using right in the middle. And the roots will come out. Stargrass is not the best filter. Over on the other side is aquatic mint, and that is an amazing filter. So I wouldn't worry too much about the weight because you're going to use small pots. And if you go to my book, it'll show you some of the pots that we use. So let's see what else we have here. Question wise. I put black mollies. Dee Dee said she put black mollies and sailfin mollies out this summer. Well, good for you. Dee Dee, let me know how the black mollies go. That's an interesting history. I wrote a history of the black molly several times when I used to write for the magazines. And I have a live bearer anthology book from all my old articles. Well, it was supposed to be out by now. It's not. That should come out this year. That traces the history of the black molly. It's a strange fish. All the Paceliids, guppies, mollies, their genetics are kind of weak. They don't line breed well, and they weaken over time. The black molly used to be a very touchy fish. The current strain, the pet shops, is pretty hardy. Um, what Dr. Joanne Norton, the founder of the American Library Association, discovered was the myth that mollies and sailfins too need salt. She said that was a myth. The salt helps you fix mistakes that you're making. What they need is just, lots of good food and clean water. I find, and she found too, that it's calcium is really the key. Calcium hard water is what their environment is from in Mexico and parts of Florida and the Yucatan Peninsula. That's still in their genetics. So I always use some crushed coral. If I have a sailfin molly tub downstairs. I have one with Pacellia velifera and one with Pacellia latipenia, which is the American molly. And I take a chunk of Texas holy rock and I put that in the tub. Your plants can also survive some salt. So, 1 tablespoon of salt per 10 gallons will not have an effect on any of your plants that you will notice. It also gives them a little bit of electrolytes and maybe those two tips. If you have seashells, you can line the bottom of those tubs with seashells too, Dee Dee. Let me know how it goes. The gold mollies they sell in the pet shops, those are really hardy. Those regular alkaline tap water, they seem to do well. And that's a Pacelius phenops mostly variety. And that variety, which is not a coastal species, does not have the demands for calcium or salt like the other two species that we just mentioned. So let's see some other new questions coming up here. Man, the trash talk is light today. I was told that mollies do better with salt because most breeders use it. Is that accurate? It's really a myth. That it's really I wrote an article called the Molly Salt Myth. The breeders use it because salt helps with nitrite poisoning. So when they put things in the bag and when they bag these fish in little bags of water and send them out, the other problem though is it perpetuates itself. They raise them in salt, then they bring them to the pet shops to sell. The pet shops aren't using salt, and then they crap out, right? You're totally changing the osmotic pressure of a fish, right? From salt to non-salt. It's better to raise them in hard fresh water so that osmotic stress doesn't happen when you switch them over. So you follow the late great Dr. Norton's method. Give them big tanks, lots of clean water, and what I say, put a little calcium in. As you see, I'm an old live bearer guy. All right, that was my first book, and I was editor at the American Library Association. They're my favorite fish. And once I finish my BAP, where I'm trying to breed all these other different fish for my club, I want to go back to live bearers again. Um, how tall does that horsetail you sent me get? Oh, it's growing, but slowly. Yeah. So horsetail rush, Aquiseaster, is an ancient plant. In the days of the dinosaurs, the horsetail rushes were the size of a house. So it's a plant that survived the ice age and came back. It does grow slowly for me too, even though it's shown to be invasive. Um, I find that it's when it's in full water like that, it grows a lot slower. It's not as invasive as people say. Now, Stephen, I sent you, I think, the dwarf variety, didn't I? The dwarf variety is only going to get about that big. And that's a rare plant. So that is more of an accent plant. Let's see here. So, okay, Mr. D Superman. Okay, I don't know who you are, but it seems like you know me. Those China barbs I won at auction from you have bred in only raising 7 right now. But that's a beautiful fish, nicer than the gold barbs. Yeah, so that's the natural form of the gold barb, which I believe I got from Wet Spot Tropical Fish. I like Wet Spot Tropical Fish. Steve Lundblad is a legend in the hobby for decades. He's a fellow at the ACA. He's been doing it for longer than anyone. And his fish are great. He'll pick out pairs for you. And he has some decent prices too. He doesn't do YouTube. He doesn't do social media much. So people don't use him and they use more expensive people. I don't get it, but I can recommend him. And he's also a great guy, and his customer service is great. I call them on the phone. Can you pick me out pairs? Sure, I'll do it. And they send me pairs. Let's see what a few other people have to say here. We're going to scroll down here first. Okay, Stephen Hollett says, this is the first year for me. I have 9 small tubs. Wow, you went all in, pal. If you have 9 small tubs, I hope you're trying to breed some 2-tub fish. Let us know what they're like. Some people have 5. Zen, you have a cheap 150 Lowe's tub. You're ready to go, girl. Put it outside. Don't worry. Have faith in your fish. Let's see some other questions here as we scroll down. Everyone's saying hello, which is good. That's one of the nice things about the Fish Fam community. I went to the Clash when it was a small event, the Keystone Clash, which I spoke about. So for the past 2 years, there's these Fish Fam people. I only met you guys there, but I'm so looking forward to meeting you now because I know so many of you so much better. We have so much fun here online, and then we get to see each other in person, which is even better, right? That's how humans have evolved to be in-person social creatures. So I'm really looking forward this year to seeing everyone who I've got to know better here. So let's see. We have some Fish Fam here. I mentioned to everyone too, if you're in the Northeast, we have a Facebook group called the Northeast Fish Tub and Water Garden Study Group. And you're welcome to join that if you are in the Northeast. We share photos and stuff. Hasn't been too active since the NEC has slowed down, but I'm trying to bring it back. Okay, so Foxy has had the same problem with StreamYard not accepting her camera. Okay, now I don't feel as bad. So, Steven wagging his finger at me, which I know he's doing, um, doesn't make me feel as bad now. Okay. Is Joe, is this the same guy that did the aquarium co-op talk? Yes, sadly, Joe, I am the same guy who put you to sleep with 3 aquarium co-op talks. I'm so sorry. But hey, you save money on Ambien. Think of it that way. Hey, Joe. Hey, Joe. Oh, wow. Kelly putting some Midwest trash talk in there. My goodness. Let's see what we have in here. Again, I don't tend to do a lot of live streams. I'm going to do these seasonally. Keystone Clash, September 26th through 28th. Check it out. It is so much fun. Nothing is better than meeting new people and making friends. Nothing. And that's one thing that makes the Clash unique versus other events out there. Even Aquashella, which is a zoo for me. Um, let's get some other questions here. Let's go down to the end a bit here. And let's see what we have here. Passing Wind, who has to have one of the damn funniest YouTube handles out there. Granted, note to self, don't have dinner at the Clash with Passing Wind, but I like your handle. In my outside tanks, I have leased killies in their own container and mosquito fish in the other, and they're doing great. Well, that's great. Those are real bulletproof fish. So the least killifish is not a killie. It is a live bearer. It is our American live bearer. It is the seventh smallest vertebrate on the planet Earth and one of the smallest fishes. The male is. They're really beautiful. They're just very tiny. You can have a colony of them in a 2.5 gallon tank. They're Heterandria formosa. So the least killifish, which Passing Wind is keeping, they have an interesting reproductive strategy. They do superfotation, which means other live bearers, Passelia live bearers, guppies, mollies, platies, swordtails, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, they store sperm. Thank God people can't do this. Can you imagine this? They'll be inseminated by a male, and the sperm is inseminated in packets. And this is why when you have a platy or a swordtail or a guppy or a molly, they're giving birth for the next 7 months every 30 days. Well, Heterangia formosa is too tiny to give birth to a lot of fry at once, so she does an assembly line. This superfotation is constantly inseminating her, growing fry, and passing them out. So she gives birth not every 30 days, but every day or up to every 3 days, depending on the heat, she will pop out a baby or two. So this is a really neat fish. And you're keeping, you're keeping Dambusia Passing Wind. Is that what you said? Eastern mosquito fish? Yeah, Gambusia. We call them Dambusia. They are fin shredders, so I want you to be careful putting them in with any other fish. Gambusia, um, Balanesix, and Brachyraphis are 3 Passelia genus of live bearers that are closely related. They're predatory. and they will shred the fins of your other fish. Keep them separate. Don't release them to local waters. Um, your kids caught them out in the creek. Yeah, so you must be down south. They are native from Florida. But many places, even up here, they release them seasonally, our cooperative extension, for mosquito control, which is a terrible idea because they'll eat the eggs of your native fish too. But if they are native to your area, sure. I mean, that's great that your kids catch them and watch them give birth. That's how we get kids interested in the hobby, right? The first time you see a live bear being born, you're hooked. You've got Jody has the melanistic gambusia. You have the Holbrooki, Gambusia holbrooki, I believe, with your rice fish. I just lost. And so far, all is well. Yeah, they're probably fine with the heterandria. They will go after the heterandria fry, but if anything, they'll keep your heterandria formosa population down a bit, right? So that's not such a bad thing. Stevens in Louisiana, where he has them in every ditch creek that's outside of his house. Um, but folks, I mean, I remember I was speaking to Whip, and I've been bugging Whip to put fish in his pond. He said, "Yeah, I'm thinking of putting some feeder guppies or goldfish." I'm like, "What are you doing? No, have some fun. Put out some rosy barbs. Put out some Buenos Aires tetras. Put out some Von Rio tetras. There's another fish that will colony spawn for you in one tub, can take hot or very cold, near freezing temps, right? Um, put out some any of the other Danios, things that you can see, right? I find Frank, and the trouble with feeder fish, if you buy them as feeders, they usually have a disease. They usually are fungused a bit. They're not the healthiest thing to put out there. Um, and frankly, fancy guppies are not a great idea to put outside if you're trying out. They're touchy animals, like a lot of the Pasilia live bearers. You're better going with swordtails or platies, but you really won't see them too much. Paradise fish are awesome outside. Blue gouramis, it's easy to pick out a pair. The female's dorsal fin is rounded. The male's dorsal fin is pointed. You can pick out a pair, put them in a tub, and they will spawn for you this summer. And they will live with their fry. And they're an easy, cheap fish. You're not investing a lot to really have an interesting summer, right? Have faith in your fish. Steven says he was giddy like a schoolgirl. Hmm, that's a fantasy. Oh, never mind. Steven said he was giddy like a schoolgirl when he saw his paradise babies. Yeah, it's cool, isn't it? Because you they were probably hatched out a while ago, but now they feel comfortable enough to strut their stuff and move around. And what's great about the labyrinth fish outside in the summer, to develop that labyrinth organ, they need humid air. A lot of times you'll breed them inside and they'll die off, right? But the air is so hot and humid and moist, it's a perfect environment for him. Your tub is filled with plankton and other things, and you'll notice you probably weren't feeding baby food. They grew anyway. So you'll have lots of paradise fish to share. Jeff Pelham wants some. We have to get him some. All right, yes, Stephen. Passing wind can't see that. Yeah, but hey, deal with it. Um, Dee Dee said it's hot here and the ponds go green brown so easy. Yeah, it does. In heat, I get more algae than in cooler waters. This is why I grow a lot of my plants. Let's try to pull out the aquatic mint. Hold on, let's get the aquatic mint. You can see this now. You see that root system? Let me get a nice close shot here. My camera's on a tripod. You see the root system. This is Mentha aquatica citratus. No, this is citrus mint. You can smell it right from here. You put a few of these leaves in cold water in your fridge, and you get wonderful minty citrusy water. And or sometimes I'm walking by, I'll take a leaf and I'll crush it and I'll smell it. and I'll forget that I just saw the Kardashians on TV. And you'll notice this is grown in a gravel basket. The roots are coming out. This is going to help with your algae problem tremendously, Dee Dee. Also, keeping your plant covered, water hyacinth. You want fast growing plants that can suck up the nutrients, right? Algae is all about, as you know from as a plant person, nutrients and light, right? And I do agree with the heat, it does get a little bit worse. Let's see some other questions here. Is everyone having a good time? I feel so bad about coming in late. Um, is there something I can do because I want to see my fish? So, Dee Dee, if you have green water usually occurs early in the season. And I never have green water in any of my tubs ever, except when I set them up with fresh water right away and I don't have enough plants. So enough plants, you'll notice back here we have an iris. Let me show the iris. So this is a thriller plant. The irises have stopped blooming, but you can see grown in pea gravel, water hyacinth all around. There is submersed plants in there too. Let me see over here. Yep, there's some submersed plants in here as well in little pots. I like what I'm using now in the aquarium and outside. They sell those little round cylindrical lava rock tubes. They're called plant anchors. They're ceramic and round. You shove stem plants in there. Rotala is the best. It's so great outside. It's easy. I know Kelly hates Rotala, but you know, haters gotta hate. So you put the rotella in there and you put them down below. Even a little bit of sunlight from a covered tank is enough to get them to grow. The power of the sun will far exceed any lights you have in the aquarium. All those things together means I don't have green water. Plus, what you also could do, Dee Dee, you can go on Amazon from Carolina Biologic Supply, order some Daphnia if you don't have any. Order a bunch, put them in there, they'll clear out that green water. Especially if your water is hard or alkaline with some calcium, they'll do even better. Let's see here. Have you ever dealt with the China moth caterpillar? Yeah, Stephen, I have a tank tub right behind me that is being shredded a bit, and I think it is the caterpillar. It's the first time that's happened. I have more aphids up here, which caused that problem. But I am hoping this tub here that has been, you can see one of the leaves here being cut up. I haven't dug, and yep, there it is. In fact, here's the caterpillar. Ready? You want to see it? Can everyone see the little caterpillar right there? There is the caterpillar. And he has devoured that tub right behind me. And he's getting crushed right now. So that's the first time I've really dealt with them. So it's interesting. You're in a totally different part of the country, and I only have one tub that has them. It's usually aphids. So I didn't know they were called the China moth caterpillar. So I have to look into that. Um, I'm wondering if that chitin inhibitor that I spoke about would help, right? Or not, but that's not really a chitin animal. They have chrysalis. Um, but that's more of a hand job that you have to, take them out by hand and pick them out. I've never dealt with them yet till now, but we just saw one right here. Zen says I haven't tubbed in 2 years. We spoke to the King Tut here. Let's see. Any tips for keeping Corydoras in tubs? So I have kept them in tubs. I haven't had them breed outside for me though, but they do great outside. They do absolutely great. And if you go to any of my videos, the intro of the video shows an albino Cory catfish that I pulled out of the tub, and it's red, right? It actually gets color outside. Um, I've tried to breed some outside. I haven't been too successful. You know, with Corys, I like to collect the eggs. You know, and they I think if you're going to try with Corys outside, go with the standard Corydorus aeneas, you know, the standard green Corys. They're the easy ones to breed. Um, that's a project for me next year, for you and I to do next year, Steve. Thank you for the tip. Dr. Ted, let's see here. Yeah, you put a tester core. Yeah, I had Corydorus weitzmani outside, which is supposed to be a touchy species. They were fine. Aeneas. My Corys are fine outside. They just don't do much. I did say in those tubs where I had cories, I did not have any dragonfly larvae. Those larvae go to the bottom and they get sucked up. Let's try some other questions here. Oh, Dee Dee, you put your electric blue acaras, which is your favorite fish, outside. Hmm. You have water pumped up to your bog and back to the pond. That sounds awesome, actually. So let's add that to the fish list. Dee Dee, let me know on a private message if they spawn for you outside this summer. And then I want to add them to the fish glossary in the book in the next edition. And that's what it's all about, folks, sharing information. Let's try some more here. Stephen putting his finger again, tell me that I skip questions. I know. I can't get to everyone, though, Stephen. I'm sorry. McSteamy is the bar, and then we all live up to the McSteamy bar, and we get there, but we never reach the McSteamy bar. What can I tell you? Bougie says, yeah, her pond goes up against northern exposure wall. Either way, you would lose too much water. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, that's exactly what we were saying. Emily had that's a very good observation. Yes, and if you look at the second chapter of my book, and when I do my talk, it's not the tub you choose. It's not your macro location. It's your micro location. Location, location, location. There's a part of your property where you put a tub is going to be radically different than if you put it in a southern exposure or on this side of the house or on that side. Very different microclimates. You've got to find that sweet spot microclimate. And even if you're in a hot climate, you will have one climate that could be good. These micro locations. There's a whole chapter on how to adjust the locations, find them. It might take you a few years to do this. One thing that I do now that my trees are growing, because I'm in a wetland forest area. That's my habitat here in northwest New Jersey Skylands. This is where the Great Wisconsin Glacier came, carved out, left its crud, carved out lakes and mountains, and then are retreated. So that's where I live. Um, is you go out around this? You can go out around this time. It's still okay at dawn. In other words, have Jody P wake you up because she's already been up for 2 hours anyway. And you go out at dawn and you track your sun and where your tub is. You would be surprised. You think you're getting 12 hours sun, you're probably not, unless you're in an open field. And you track how many hours of full sun you get, and you deduct when it hits a roof line or it hits a shade point. You have to take into account cloud cover because that does not count. And that will tell you a lot about how much sun you get. And maybe there's been tubs that I said, well, now I know why my water lilies aren't blooming well here because what I thought was 6 hours of sun is only four. So I chose water lilies that bloom in 4 hours, and there are a bunch. That also means your fish selection is going to be different, right? Now my CPDs will breed really well outside because it's cooler in that tub. Let's see what else here. Kelly Foreman gets 100% covered by water lilies, instant shade. You and me, Dr. Foreman. I mean, I think Kelly will tell you a tub without a water lily you might as well just get a tall glass of orphan tears and drink them. Because a tub without a water lily is pure sadness, right, Kelly? Completely agree with you. Folks, I got into this to bring my fish outside. And my wife had given me back in the day a boxed dried pond plant assortment for like Christmas. And I set out the fish outside with a cinder block in a tub back in the mid 90s. And I put limias out there and they all thrived, even though I did everything wrong. But then I started keeping water lilies. Now they're closed now because it's later in the day. This is Pink Beauty, one of Kelly's favorites, and that Emily has as well. Um, there's something primal about water lilies. You know, human beings evolved with water lilies. They're one of the first flowering plants, and there's something about them that is captivating. And so now I collect them like Kelly does, and we're always which ones we're going to get rid of, which ones do we keep. And I like them as much as the fish now. Um, and, you know, if you plant them well, if you plant them specifically in a certain way and you fertilize them, that's the key. Don't skip the fertilizing. They're just lovely. And the great thing about a tub pond is you can get up close to them. You can, the first day they open, you can taste the nectar with your finger. It's like a syrup. You can see the bees get drunk in there. You can smell them. They have fragrance. So don't miss that opportunity. Don't cover it with just water hyacinth, right? Do water lilies survive 115 degrees? Yeah, yep, they will, especially the tropical lilies. Where you are, Zen, I mean, I would be remiss not to do a tropical water lily where you are because you don't have to worry about having it getting cold and having them go dormant on you all of a sudden. They'll thrive. Um, but again, that thermocline, right? Your pot's going to be at the bottom of your tub. 115 is the temperature in the air. Let's talk about temperature a bit. So your air temperature, you get your weather app. It's going to say it's 115 degrees or it's 95 degrees. That's the temperature in the shade. A lot of people don't know that. The temperature in full sun is much hotter, but your water temperature is a different ballgame. You should have a thermometer in your tubs. Here we go, like one of these. Now, some thermometers are crap and some are good. The ones for the pond hobby generally are not that good because it's a piece of paper inside. You all know thermometers that have paper inside. I prefer thermometers that where the gradations are in the thermometer itself. A floating pond thermometer, the best ones are at the pool store. A swimming pool store will have ones where they're actually etched in, and they're a little more accurate, I find. But you'll find that the water temperatures in your tubs are different than the air and that thermocline. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. How do I get my water hyacinth to stop turning yellow and bloom? Well, if they're turning yellow, they probably need some nutrients. So I'll let Kelly and Steve add some comments here. Most likely, you either don't have fish in there that you're feeding regularly. That's generally all they need. So it sounds like a nutrient issue to me. Um, I'm not big on liquid fertilizers in ponds because I don't want the algae bloom. So what you could do to green up all of your pond plants, if you don't want to do, you guys all, if you want to get some Miracle Grow at the garden center, the powdered Miracle Grow, the aquatic formula for that is 1 tablespoon in a 5-gallon bucket. 5 gallons to 1 tablespoon of Miracle Grow for flowering plants or regular Miracle Grow as a dip. You take your pond plants, you put them in there for 24 hours as a dip. Then you take them out, you hose them off, put them back in the pond. It's another way to fertilize your marginal plants if you don't want to use tablets. Now, I also have here, isn't this bucket great? This is a Fisker's garden bucket from Target. I love this thing. Fisker's is a good company for garden tools. But this little garden bucket is great. It has a little slot for my devices and everything I need to go from tub to tub. This is a neat product that came out, Pond Tabs Junior. Best price for this is at Webs online. And folks, this is 250 tablets for like $9. This is a fraction of the cost of aquarium fertilizer tablets, macro and micronutrients. If you want a cheap tablet fertilizer that's high quality and complete, here you go. Sue Harkey and I use this in our tanks, but I use this to fertilize my marginals and basket plantings because it's 1/5 the concentration of a water lily tablet. This is a water lily tablet. This is a company called Thrive. They're from Michigan and they make it in Michigan. And this is the one that I'm using now. So different ways to fertilize for that question. Thank you, Joanne. Good luck with that. Jenna, yep, Jenna's had them survive. Jenna, you've had your water lily survive the heat and cold and your husband, which is really the amazing thing. Yep, Sweet Acres Koi Farm tells you that his pond stays at 65 degrees in the summer, 38 in the winter. It's 6 feet down. All right, so now we go to more of the current questions. Been showing some demo here. Let's see here. I'm talking a little about fertilizing. I want to show you another little tool that I brought with me here. This is a dibble. This is an old English garden tool. It comes in wood. I prefer ones that have a metal tip. You'll notice it's pointed. Water lily, marginal fertilization. I use it in the aquarium too. You can drill down there, pull it out gently, pop in the fertilizer tablet, cover it up, add a little sand on top. Makes your life a lot easier. It's called a dibber or a dibble. Very handy little old English garden tool. Let's see what else questions we have here. And no trash talk yet. You guys are so nice. I love you guys. Yes, Stephen, it's true. I am trespassing on someone's land. This is all a myth. This is just, it's just like when you and I were passing those bad checks back in Phoenix together about 10 years ago. You remember that? We didn't tell anyone then. I'll go there, pal. So watch it. Any tips on keeping Corydoras? We discussed. Oh, frog, yeah. Dee Dee had the frog invasion eradication. Yeah, my northern gray tree frogs have stopped making my tubs into Hugh Hefner's grotto. Um, I mean, they're like teenagers during June. I come out, it's like a hump fest all around my tubs. Um, I generally remove them. Yeah, if I go out at night with a flashlight, I grab them and I dispose of them, and I'll end it right there. Talking about flashlights, I told this to Steven. If you have fry that you can't see, because sometimes when it's light out, the way the light's reflecting, and because it's hot, you don't see the fry. You get my friend Richard Wade gave me this tip. You get a very high powered hand flashlight, um, and you go out at night and put it in your tubs. The fish are going to be standing still or swimming still, and you can often see the fry that way and count your fish that way. It's also an easy way to see a tadpole and get them out of there if you want to get them out of there. More of that in there's a lot more tips in my book. There's a whole section on that. So let's see some more. Oh, Tom is Ali Shanselma. You got the natural gold bars from Cuboid. That's right. Thank you, Tom. That's Cuboid Aquarium in Eastern Pennsylvania. Really good store. Half the store is planted aquaria stuff, and the other half is fish. Cuboid Aquariums. Harvey owns that place. He's an old fish guy. Used to work for Sarah. If you're ever in Eastern PA, check out Cuboid. Dee Dee says, can the paradise fish stay outside over winter in Eastern North Carolina? I don't know your climate. I do know that, you want it above the freezing. I have picked them out under the ice one time by accident, but they can go down to near freezing. Why don't you experiment? Stephen P has lots of fry you can use. Let's try some more questions here. Again, have faith in your fish. You have so much positive energy at the clash. Well, I do. It's good to be positive. You know, I listen, we can't all be cynical like Steven, right? He needs to have a yin yang going on there. That's my function, right? So you have to think of it that way. Some other questions here. Let's see. In their outside tanks, okay. Least Achilles. I think we're almost wrapping up here. And I have a few other things to show while I'm browsing here that I could show you. Ember Tetras. Yeah, I put Ember Tetras outside. They didn't do much for me, but they all survived. I will say that. Um, Embers are beautiful fish. Petco sells them now too, which is kind of wild, actually. Let's see. Got out there, keeps fancy guppies. Wow, does the she heat the pond? Yeah, so that is true, sleeper. My in the way that I do it with aquarium fishes from dwarf cichlids to rainbows and smaller, my filters are the plants in perforated baskets, floating plants, submersed plants, um, and that is basically the filter. Plus the bacterial film that's on the tubs. That's why starting your tubs up early in the spring and letting that film form, put in a little aquarium water, put in a few little doses of over-the-counter bacteria, let that season, and that does the trick. If it's too hard, if I'm doing filters outside, I'm doing a fish room outside, and that's not what I want to do. Let's see here. My baby tubs have very long baby tuts. Oh, someone must have the king tut papyrus, I think. That's what they're referring to. That mint needs to be kept in a pot because it will take over every invasive. Well, the aquatic mint, yeah, mints are incredibly invasive. Incredibly invasive. That's not a ground mint, that's an aquatic mint. Um, it does go to flower, but it doesn't really survive in terrestrially for me well at all, unless I'm in a really moist environment. So if you do the mints, use the Mentha aquatica types. Um, the regular is nice too. The regular Mentha aquatica has white flowers. This one has purple flowers, the citrata. A lot of people don't know this. So there's many mints. One of the ground mints that grow in the ground is called spearmint. You've all heard of spearmint. They crossed centuries ago spearmint with Mentha aquatica, and the world got peppermint. It's a true story. That's a fun, useless fact that won't get you any dates. Trust me. Kelly Foreman is saying hate, hate, hate. Again, all right, we're going to try to catch up here as soon as we can. Let's go back. Let's go right, scroll right down to some recent questions here. I'm on StreamYard doing this. I could do the Jeff Pelham and grab my phone and do it that way. I was thinking of doing that because I really love Jeff. He's a cool dude. Let's see here. Other type of questions. Before we wrap up, well, I think we're pretty good. I think we've used up a lot of our time here. And I know there might be some more questions, but I think we're going to just end this here. I thank you all for coming. Thank you again for being patient. Sorry about being 15 minutes late. We'll see what's going on with StreamYard and why suddenly when I go live, it cuts these off and it cuts my camera off when I go live. Don't know. We'll look into that. I'll ask Stephen P for his advice. But other than that, probably we'll see you again towards the end of the season because we're going to talk about bringing the fish inside and ways to do that. Again, fertilize your water lilies. When it's hot like this, every 2 weeks is not that crazy. 1 tablet per gallon of soil. If it's in a 5 quart pot, make it 2 tablets at least. Get them in deep. Don't put them near the crown of the plant or you'll burn it. Cover it up. Um, you can break that water lily tablet into a fifth or get Pontab Junior and feed your marginals if you want as well. Keep looking for your fry. If you want to do a summer clean out and get that Laguna pond net, um, hair algae and string algae, again, I use a bamboo pole that I go in here and I pull it out. With that, I make cotton candy with the pole and go around and pull it out. You can use a toothbrush to get it out from around some of the pond roots as well. Very, very easy to do that. And then I follow up with a dose of algae fix if I have a really bad infestation of hair algae, which does not hurt my plants. Um, so other than that, enjoy your tubs. Have faith in your fish. If you haven't set one up, just do it. Just take the plunge, pardon the pun. And I will see you on the other channels. And I want you to have a nice day. Take care, everybody. Take care now.